So we're here today for the second annual People Not Prisons Vigil put on by the ACLU of Arizona Smart Justice Campaign. The purpose of this event is to provide a healing space for community of formerly incarcerated and directly impacted people. Also to bring attention to the issue that we need prison reform here in Arizona. So we're supporting earned release credit bills. There are two that have come out from the House that we are here to pass out Valentines to lawmakers to ask them to be our Smart Justice Valentine advocates. And we'll be doing a march as well as lighting candles later on to remember the lives that we've lost in DOC the past year. So that's what we're doing.
Is there anything else you'd like to add to?
Right now in Arizona, we are one of two states that all people must do 85% of their time, no matter what kind of programming they do. There's no incentive to better yourself while inside. I know this because I've been there twice, and it is really important to give people incentive to change their minds, change their hearts, to come home sooner to their families. It's not only a prison reform issue, it is a community issue. People are being ripped from their families, kids are growing up without their mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers. It's really a community issue. Okay, you're good.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Hi. My name is Sherry Skates. I'm a single mother of two boys. My oldest son went to prison at the age of 17 on drug charges. He did a 5-year sentence. He came out worse than when he went in. He came home hooked on heroin. He had never touched that drug before going to prison. He didn't have any rehabilitation, any reentry programs. He had nothing when he got out. He tried very hard to make it, trying to get jobs, but every time they found out he had a felony, they'd let him go. He ended up getting so depressed, he got back on the drug. He landed another prison sentence of 30 flat years. My younger son, he has been to prison 3 times now, and went in each time coming out with more of a heroin addiction than when he went in the first time. Each time he comes out, again, there's no help, there's no rehabilitation, there's no programs. There's no programs inside the prison yards when you're a repeat offender. As being a single mother, this has been the worst incredible journey you could ever imagine. And I'm just one of thousands of other families that are going through this. I am asking the Arizona state lawmakers to please take a strong look at our prison reform this year, to put in place rehabilitation programs that they can earn and do while they're in prison, not once they get out, but while they're in there. And once they complete these programs, then have a chance to have earned release credits. Give them hope, give them a chance to please become something when they get out so they can support their families, come back home to their families. Because right now, my younger son, every time he comes home, he's hooked on heroin. He's got to check in with his PO officer the very next day, and you come home dope sick if you don't continue using. It's a continuous circle that once you're in the system, it seems like you never get out. And as a single mom, I seriously can't do this. I'm begging you, state lawmakers, to end the mass incarceration. It's an epidemic. Arizona is got the harshest, longest sentencing rules of any state. Together we can do this. I thank you for your support. Please vote for HB 2808.
You all about it when I see you again. When I see you again.
Damn, who knew? All the planes we flew, good things we've been through. That I'll be standing right here talking to you about another path. I know we love to hit the road and laugh, but something told me that it wouldn't last. Had to switch up, look at things different, see the bigger picture. Those were the days, hard work forever pays. Now I see you in a better place. How can we not talk about family when family's all that we got? Everything I went through, you were standing there by my side, and now you gon' be with me for the last ride.
It's been a long day without you, my friend. And I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began.
No, we started.
Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again.
Tell you.
When I see you again.
First you both go out your way and the vibe is feeling strong. And what's small turn to a friendship turn to a bond. And that bond will never be broken, the love will never get lost. And when brotherhood come first, then the line will never be crossed. Established it on our own when that line had to be drawn. And that line is what we reach, so remember me when I'm gone. How can we not talk about family when family's all that we got? Everything I went through, you were standing there by my side. And now you gon' be with me for the last ride.
Let the light guide your way. Yeah. Hold every memory as you go, and every road you take will always lead you home. Oh, it's been a long day without you, my friend. And I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again.
Lost his life 3 months before his release date. We went from planning his re-entry to planning his funeral. Until that moment, I truly believed that my brother was in a safe place, getting the help that he needed for his drug addiction. Until that moment, I believed that this kind of thing only happened in the movies, not to my family. But this isn't a movie, it's my reality. And it's our mother's reality, and our sister's reality, and his daughter's reality. My brother understood what was happening. He quickly learned that our prison system was not one that harnessed real rehabilitation and reentry. He wanted to change it. He wrote in a letter, "It takes a community to restore order in times of crisis. And in order to bring light to this, we must be honest with ourselves and one another and work together to fix this epidemic." He was lamenting the fact that incarceration currently isn't doing enough to foster rehabilitation and reentry. Sadly, he never got the chance to do his part. Jeff was the victim of a brutal assault and lost his life. I know my family will never get justice for my brother's death due to the flawed internal investigation system. But what I can do is work to make sure this doesn't happen to other families. Our current system isn't working, and until real reform is made, I ask that all of you directly impacted continue to be advocates for those without a voice. You can't change a system of neglect and deception by changing the name on the door, just like they couldn't change my brother by calling him 242-484. Please reach out to your lawmakers and ask them to support HB 2808, a sentencing reform bill that will help bring people home to their families sooner. Thank you.
With liberation, down with incarceration. Down with incarceration.
All right. My name is May Tuamankala, and I was incarcerated at Perryville Women's Prison for DUI. When I was sentenced to 3 years, I thought that was a lifetime. I thought about all the opportunities I'd miss, all the family gatherings I'd miss, and most importantly to me at the time was my college education. It took me up until the moment I was sentenced by the judge that I realized the devastation of all these things I'd missed out on. I've always dreamt of being an activist and to fight for the values I believe in. I know there's an injustice in the prison system, and I sought out insight from the women incarcerated with me. Many were mothers wishing to get back with their children, wishing to get help and better their lives so they can be better mothers. Others were young adults like me, wishing they could find a way to redeem themselves to their families and society. Most women in Perryville worked hard to better themselves, whether it was through completing programs, finding a higher paid job, even if it was brutal work, finding God, finding forgiveness in others and themselves, or going through months or years of classes to achieve their GED. For me, I pushed my mind and body to the limit and worked at a program called Fire Crew, where we went through tough training to become wildland firefighters. The job required us to stand for 12 hours with 45 pounds on our back and a 20-pound chainsaw, all while dragging brush and carrying trees outside of the fire line. We were also punished with burpees if we were to break any of the rules or if we couldn't keep up with the crew during the hikes. One time, one of my crewmates, who was an older lady, couldn't keep up with us, and she was required to do over 300 burpees right after the strenuous hike. My first week of being on Fire Crew, I got my arm stuck in a chipper, and my whole crew came running and pulled the drums apart with their bare hands. At that life-threatening moment, I was thinking redemption was more important than my own safety. I stayed devoted. I stayed devoted to that crew for over a year. My mindset didn't differ from many of the women I was with. But despite all of our work we put into improving our lives, we still had no opportunity to earn additional time off our sentences. That's because Arizona is one of the only states that does not provide people in prison with earned release credits. This year, 2 bills have been proposed that will be the first step toward providing people earned release credits. HB 2808 and HB 2753 would allow people to earn additional time off their sentence if they participate in programming. They will give people a chance to come home sooner instead of serving a mandatory 85% of their sentence. While I was incarcerated, each day felt like a missed opportunity and a burden on my family. While I was incarcerated, I found out from my family that both my mom and my dad were laid off, and they still had to support me financially by paying like $200, which they didn't have, just to keep me fed and, good. I know that allowing people to earn time off their sentence would impact so many families in a positive way. I believe people who are incarcerated should have a chance at redemption and should be given tools to help them prosper in community. I'm asking you to reach out to your lawmakers and ask them to support earned release credit legislation. Together, let's reform our prison system. Yeah.